What's up and welcome back. I'm John Stark from MakeTheMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic. And today we're talking about Andor, episodes 7, 8, and 9. But really, do you hear the people singing the song of ink? Let me have my space Les Mis. Let me have it. I loved episode 8. I loved it. It's my favorite episode of Andor as a series. So, yeah, this show still has audio description, still Jedediah Barton, and he's still killing the game, still excellent. There are several moments here that, first of all of episode 8, oh my god, I don't even know if I don't, 7 happened. 7 was fine. I mean, some people have tried to rope it in as being like 7, 8, 9, but I feel like 8 was just on a different level. Like 7, the thing is, here's the thing. First, I need you to click like and subscribe because I'm really low in subscribers. I don't know if I'll ever get monetized. So, but here's the thing about Andor. So everything that you love about episode 8 is because of the storytelling that's worked all the way up until that point. It's meticulous. It's one of the reasons why sometimes series television works better than film, is because with film, if you want a slow burn or you want the kind of character development, it's kind of hard to do that in 2 hours. Then you start pushing into the 215, 230, 245. People start bitching about runtime. You know, they're like, oh, I'm in the theater too long. 3 hours. Oh my God. You know, the funny thing is, you put it at home episodically, people will watch like 12 hours. This is essentially like a 12-hour movie. Andor 2. So in a way, you kind of get off with having the world's longest movie, but because you're breaking it up episodically, uh, people don't notice it so much. So I've thought this series up to this point has been good, but I've been missing the greatness. And then episode 8 happened. Jesus Christ. I loved episode 8 so much. Even though I picked up on the Les Mis vibe, I was like, there's so much payoff here from everything they've been doing with Cyril, with Deidre, with Cassian being there to sort of witness all of that. And then that tease that we got at the end, which plays off into episode 9 of a lot of people have wondered why a certain character hasn't been in Andor and whether or not Cassian was going to ever meet that character. Well, you got your answer. And it looks like that's being introduced just in time for it to have a substantial purpose in episodes 10, 11, and 12 for the final next week. Man, this was a terrific episode. So what did I love about it? Episode 8 is what I loved about it. So the whole episode is basically this, all of the Gormans they're tired of being put upon, and they believe that the only opportunity that they have to express their voice is sort of in mob form. But it's a peaceful protest at first. They're just kind of singing, you know. They're not really there it's not a riot. It's not inherently a riot, I should say. But unfortunately, you know, the Empire has different thoughts. And Cyril is sort of shocked at the development in the direction of where everything is headed. And he goes to confront Deidre, who he thought at least was being truthful or honest with him and having his back. And he kind of explodes on her. And this whole this relationship is broken immediately. And they have one hell of an exchange that is just, it is so intense. And I know there are people out there who are like, violence against women. And I'm like, I get it. But sometimes a villain is a villain, you know. Sometimes bad guys are bad guys. And you have to be kind of reminded at any moment that no matter what you've been watching, you're watching people who have always been morally negotiable. And that's what's kind of happening in this scene. And there is a gender difference, but at the same time, I don't think that's necessarily what's coming into play here, when somebody realizes what's about to happen and who was responsible for it. Unfortunately, Cyril, uh, his disillusioned self just kind of wanders out after his whole world has collapsed, his whole idea, his whole thought process, the idea that he had of, being sort of at the center of this espionage. All of that um, is just gone. Like everything that he's ever thought, and he walks outside and he ends up having this unfortunate encounter. Rest in peace, Cyril. By the way, this is a recap, so uh, you know, there you go. So that was heartbreaking, because I come to really think Cyril is a very sort of interesting character within the universe, the way that they've been using him. And Cassian's obviously shook, and then he has to encounter, yep, his old friend, but he's not a friend yet. Bursts out of nowhere, like a crazy droid, just absolutely going ham. And the only reason he gets stopped is because he gets bisected by a vehicle. But then Cassian's like, you know what? We could use this. So he takes him, and then so we're gonna see more of K2. It's K2, right? K2 in the future. So Deidre, we finished on a lot of things, like Cassian sort of driving away and being, again, still shook, to put it mildly, by the experiences, by everything that just happened, by him watching this mob of people just sort of get slaughtered, and the destruction and everything, and the fact that he came close to being killed by Cyril, and then watching Cyril just getting killed right in front of his eyes, all those kind of things. He's had a day. But then we cut to Deidre, and everything that she gave up, her whole argument to Cyril was that this is how they get their ticket out, and they get to return home as heroes. And Cyril's obviously like, it's not worth it. That's kind of the takeaway when he starts walking away from her and moving away is, yeah, but what cost? So he almost can see what will transpire. And then Deidre actually experiences what does transpire. And the audio description on the actress just reacting, and the shaking, and trying to control the shaking, trying to, I guess, because in the Empire you don't want to ever seem weak when you're in a position of power, but she can't stop it. She's trying not to cry. She's trying everything that she can, but it's like it has to come out of her somehow, and her hand starts trembling, and then I think it starts with her finger, then it moves in her hand. And the way that it tracked that, and the way that she moved it up to her face to try to hold her hand in place, the whole thing was just absolutely beautiful audio description, just gorgeous audio description, and really perfectly highlighted and captured the performance of the actress, who was giving everything in that moment without having any dialogue, and was summarizing what everybody was feeling at the end of this horrific event. There's been a lot of parallels drawn to sort of Nazis, Empire, Nazis, and also sort of like the French Revolution. So it's really not that crazy that they kind of mirrored Les Mis a little bit by having the crowd coming up and singing. So, yeah, it's not that surprising. And then you're like, well, how do they follow that up? Oh my God. Okay, so Cassian he's like, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. And he gets sort of this talking down to of, oh, I didn't realize you get to decide when you're done. He's like, it's personal, you wouldn't get it. And he's like, it's my choice or whatever. And then you get the line of, I thought that was what we were fighting for. And you sort of remember that the rebel movement is fighting for the freedom to be able to make a choice like that. But that right now, they don't really have that luxury. Right now, they have to kind of, buck up, and that Cassian has to go in, and Luthien wants him to go in, and uh, Maud is going to make a speech in front of the whole council, all the senators or whatever, in front of the Senate. And it's obviously going to rock the Empire, rock the world, and really be like this huge chunk that starts the rebellion. In order to get her out of there safely, they need Cassian to sort of go escort him, even though he's still sort of like beaten and bruised from his last conflict in episode 8. He hasn't actually recovered from anything. So he has to go in and rescue her, and she gives this great speech that leans in, and we even see, that little tip of the hat to who passes the torch. I thought that was nice, that it came from Bail Organa. I don't know. I'm not that huge of a Star Wars fan. These names are going to be kind of lost on me, but I got the Organa part, so I get it. I know where this is coming from. And passing it off to her so that she can make this speech about and acknowledge the fact that what just happened was genocide. And she calls it out and says a point. And meanwhile, we see these guys running around trying to shut it down the whole time. And there are enough people who are trying to like circumnavigate the process quietly, just to make his job just annoying enough and just hard enough that she's able to make her speech without necessarily revealing anybody individually as being part of the rebellion. So he just gets frustrated with, essentially red tape and trying to stop the speech. Mods gets out, and Cassian catches up to her and helps her get out. At one point, they're stopped, and there's somebody who's about to make their life worse, but that person gets shot by somebody else who turns out to be part of this and assistance, and it offers Cassian help at the time when he needs it. So Cassian's able to keep running and getting her out of there. And they get Mods out of there, and we sort of finish on Cassian coming home to Bix, and the talk about Cassian, like all he wants is this, and he just he chooses Bix. He's like, I can't do this anymore. I just want this. I just want this normal life. I just want to be here with you. And Bix realizes the gravity of the importance of Cassian, the importance of the work that he's doing. And she removes herself from the equation and leaves Cassian by saying that she can't be the reason why he leaves, why he stays. That she has to give up their relationship because she knows that he's making the wrong choice for endearing reasons, but not the right ones. And she can't be responsible for it. So you get this heartbreaking final moment where Cassian is running to try to catch her ship before it leaves, and he just can't do it. And that's kind of the soul crushing ending. But we don't leave it there. We leave it with him and the K2 unit, and it being repaired, and it comes back to life, and we hear that familiar voice from Rogue One, and everybody at first, there's so many guards with guns trained on it just in case. And he's like, I'm sorry if I did anything to offend you, but could you please point the guns elsewhere? So we got a familiar face back, but it's also a familiar face that is joining Cassian at arguably his lowest point. When he's not only has he experienced and seen a lot of awful and traumatic things, but then he also just got dumped by the love of his life. A lot of people have been wondering what's going to happen to Bix because she's not in Rogue One. I think we got our answer. So, man, I even forgot what episode 7 was about. By the time I got to 9, I remember loving the stuff with Cassian, and he was getting ready, and he was thinking about, and he was scoping in. I remember there were a lot of times where he was sitting there, obviously, like pondering and thinking. There was a described scene where he was like sitting on the bed, sort of like swaying back and forth, and uh, I kind of remember what happened in 7, but man, episode 8, I feel like it changed my life, and then episode 9 was a great follow up. So I loved episode 8 is objectively, I think, the best thing I've seen from Star Wars in years. It's the kind of feeling that I got when they first brought in the Mandalorian, and you realized, oh, this isn't gonna suck. And then they've made kind of a bunch of things since then that have been like, oh, that's fine, that's okay, I guess. Well, that's fine. That's whatever. I don't care. You know, this kind of been the output of films too, for being honest. I haven't been, I did kind of like The Force Awakens, but you know, but this episode 8 of Andor was everything. I hope they submit that for Emmy consideration. That should be their episode. Make everybody watch that episode and dare them not to vote. So, huge props to the team doing Andor. And that's my recap. I know it's not perfect, but there are people who recap Andor for 2 hours. If you really want like a deep breakdown, there are people who have read every single Star Wars book and comic, and then they're talking about Andor and like the universe. And I just offer blindness, man. Like, that's my perspective. Was I able to enjoy it as a blind person? What's my perspective? And as a nerd who watches everything and a whole bunch of TV and films, and where's my head at? And my head was at, I liked Andor. I think it's probably the second best of the Star Wars series. I would have put Mandalorian above it, but I think this is the best episode of anything that they've had as Star Wars on television. So it's Andor episode 8. So, like, I'm way back into like paying attention. I think that was the thing about episode 7 is I was in my like normal Andor phase where I was like, well, I get you. I get what you're doing. I'm fine. I'm watching. I'm sort of absorbing. Episode 8 was like, oh my Jesus. I don't know if that's a grade, but so normally I just grade all 3 episodes simultaneously. That's what I've done for the first 2, but I need to like highlight the fact that episode 8 is amazing. So I'm gonna do like episode 7 is a B plus, episode 8 is an A plus, and episode 9 is just a regular A. I thought 8 and 9 were fantastic. So thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the other side.